Welcome to Haunting Live Podcast, a place where we bring a new paranormal guest each episode to share their journey and experiences. For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social on Instagram, Thread, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, HauntingLivePodcast.com.
Hey Trevor, you're looking a little bit stressed today. I think you need to ease your mind.
I would love to ease my mind, and I got some great tips from our guest this week on how to do that. It's Arthur, Easy Your Mind YouTube channel.
Make sure to subscribe, like, and share the channel.
Check it out on our next show, Arthur, Ease Your Mind.
Hey everyone, check out our merchandise that we have now listed underneath HauntingLivePodcast.com. We used to be on Etsy, but we found a little bit of troubles with that, so we are now on HauntingLivePodcast.com with our merch store. Check it out. We've got so much items all together with cleansing items and crystals and so much more. Check us out, HauntingLivePodcast.com. Hey everyone, it's Brother Chris here from Divine Oracle Podcast. Join me Mondays as I do readings and I post them right here in the Podbeam. It's easy, it's enlightening, and it's your weekly readings. So join me, will you?
Follow us here at Haunting Live. Our new show, we just started doing new shows in November, and we are honored to have a brand new co-host on our shows now. Yolanta Meri is our co-host, and she does a lot of work for us on the side and introduces people to the show and discusses different topics on the show. So we're really happy to have her here this season. So go check out our brand new episodes that will host the Haunting Live podcast.
Are you a fan of all things psychic and paranormal? You are in the right place. My name is Yolanta Meri, and this is the Haunting Live podcast with Trevor Bishop. On today's episode, we have an intuitive consultant and psychic advisor who is well versed in astrology and also a certified cognizant hypnotherapist. It is none other than Arthur. Ease your mind.
Thank you. Or at least at this point, Arthur, he lost his mind. So that's why I'm here. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it.
Thank you so much for asking me. I have been watching your stuff, and I'm very, very honored to be here. Thank you.
No, we're honored to have you as a guest as well. So thank you for taking your time and coming on our show here to talk a little bit about what you do and share some of your experiences that you've had. I'm assuming you had some experiences during your journey through mediumship and other things that you do. So first of all, though, can you kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you do?
You have all day?
Yes, we do.
Basically, I just tell people I make everything up and hope it happens. That's it. No,
Lovely.
it's ever since I was a kid, I teased and say for the first 5-6 years of my life, I thought my name was Stop Doing That. Because a little kid, you don't know. You just walk up to people, start telling them things, and it would horrify my parents. And my father would pick me up. We'd end up in a parking lot with him saying, "Stop doing that." So, it happens. And then in second grade, I was living in Indianapolis, and I walked up to a nun. In those days, you could not walk up to a nun. It was like walking up to a judge in a courthouse, and you had to have permission. So I just walked up and said, "Don't cry, sister's going to be fine." It's like, what? I said, "Don't cry, sister's going to be fine." And said,
Oh, wow.
"Go sit down, Damien," basically. So as I was sitting down, the Mother Superior said over the loudspeaker, "May we all have a moment of prayer for sister? She was taken to the hospital. She's in an ambulance right now, and blah, blah, blah." She, apparently her appendix blew, but a couple of days they were afraid of sepsis and all that stuff, so they take her to the hospital. And so the next day we're in church having mass for the nun. And in those days we had what was called the clicker, when all the little kids would line up and then they'd clicker in the Catholic Church, and all the little kids would genuflect, like Pavlov's dogs, then, genuflecting. And I'm feeling something in the back of my neck. I turn around, and the nun's like with holy water.
Oh my.
Yeah. If I knew then what I knew now, I'd said, "Sister, I'm not sizzling. Would you stop, please?" So they didn't understand me. And so then after being told so many times not to do what you do, not to use it or whatever, you just kind of like become an introvert. And and so I hated high school. I always felt things differently, and so I always felt one step out of place. So I got involved with music, and I was practicing piano like 8 hours a day just so I didn't have to cope with anything. And so all my degrees in music. And then I came out to Los Angeles, and I'm originally from Philadelphia area. Even though we lived in Indiana, we moved back to Philly. And I came out here in '84 to try and I was going to UCLA working on my film scoring classes. And one thing leads to another. Get a job. And so I became a reporter for 13 years. And I went back to New York in '87. And then 1988, I got a call that Gene Dixon wanted to meet with me. She was writing the quarterly predictions for the magazine. So she was familiar with my writing and stuff. I said, why would she want to meet with me? And they said it was she's doing a new children's advice column for New York Times Syndicate and would like to meet with you to maybe
Oh,
collaborate. So I went down to DC, and this is back in 1988, January of 1988 to be exact. And first thing out of her mouth when I met her was, "You have a twin sister like I do."
oh
And
wow.
I didn't really tell anybody I had a twin, so it was kind of interesting. And then we had the meeting, and then afterwards she was like, "Let me see your hands. Look at all the stars you have. Look at all the crosses. Look, and here are my stars in my hands." And it was kind of interesting. Then she said, "By the way, I took the rest of the day off. Come to my townhouse." So I went to her townhouse, and she said, "I don't know if this column's going to work or not, but it was a good excuse to meet you. And so we have to talk." And so that's how I got to know Gene Dixon, and kind of opened up everything for me. Basically, she mapped out my life in 1988, what I'd be doing.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah. And she said I'd be going back to Los Angeles, working for the magazine. I'd eventually lead the magazine because of my music, because I'm a composer, I'm a writer. All my degrees are in music. So so then she said you will go to a TV show, and then after that, you'll be doing this. The doors will just open up, and this is what you'll be doing, helping a lot of people. You'll still work on music, you'll still do writing, but you're still going to be doing this. And then later in life, you'll realize you have an audience. So I came back to Los Angeles. I worked for the magazine. I was There was a show that was looking for a theme song. So I submitted my stuff. They liked it. They bought it. And I started working on the show with some music. Then they fired the head writer, and they asked if I wanted to be the head writer. So I did 120 episodes.
Oh
And
wow.
then one thing led to another, and television so political. And so my dad died, lost my job, and then 9/11 hit all within a matter of like 2, 3 months. So like, what am I going to do? And my one friend said, well, Gene said you'd be doing this later in life. And I've been reading for everybody all the time anyway. So let's start taking money for it. So that's when I started professionally doing this. And then it was fast forward years later, I was watching Linda G on YouTube. And then Mel Dore was on YouTube with her. And so I had a reading with Mel. And it was very nice. And then I had a second reading with Mel 4 months later. And that's when he said, when are you going to do a YouTube channel? I said, Mel, are you on crack? He said, I might be on crack, but you're still going to do a YouTube channel. And it was right after that. And he said, you're going to start with guided meditations. So that's what I did. I started doing just guided meditations on YouTube. And then in March of 2023, he had me on his show and for the first time. And then he had cancer. And so um, he was on hold for a little bit. And then somebody wrote Linda G about me. And so I met her on the line, and we were talking, and she says, what are you doing tomorrow? You're on my show. And that's history. That's from there on. So I've only been on YouTube since really 2023.
Oh
But
wow.
So it hasn't been overly too long that you've been doing your shows on YouTube. Have you
what's
found that
interesting was,
yeah,
I don't mean to interrupt.
yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say what's interesting was, though, when I was writing the television show, I thought that's what Gene meant by I'll have an audience. But when you look at the timelines of everything, that was the last thing she had said. And then when I hit 10,000 viewers or subscribers on YouTube, I realized that's my audience. That's what she
Oh
was talking
wow.
about in 1988.
Oh wow.
So So we have fun.
So what was the
But I was after the election, though. I was ready to quit the
yeah.
political.
That's so hard to
And
do. Do you find it difficult doing political readings at all, or is that kind of your main thing that you like doing?
well, I don't mind doing, whatever psychic stuff I work on. It's like the political stuff. Mel said I was very good at it, and that's what people needed. So that's what I was doing. And then after the election, um, I was just devastated, and I was in bed. I was in bed. Then I was sitting on a couch for 3 days and closed my eyes. And then I opened my eyes one day, and I'm like sitting in Jean Dixon's office again, and she just leaned forward and said, "I didn't always get it right, but that doesn't mean you got this wrong, and you're not giving up now." And that was it. So I'm still here.
Well, I mean, there's so much more that you can still continue doing with that too. You don't have to focus on that one thing, right? Then be stuck on
Oh
that
no,
thing, and then
I
you
do personal
continue
reading.
on. So yeah.
Yeah, and then there's some shows that I do with collaborations I do with like Valerie from Dragonfly Crystals, Kevin Lewis. Um, he's an incredible medium and stuff, and we do personal readings on those. So it's not just the politics. And then on my membership shows, just ask anything, that kind of stuff. What do my guides have to tell me? You're fat, you order too many pizzas. Yeah. Actually, I did that once and go right, you're right. So, but no, it's yeah, well, and I just tell everybody, look, I'm 68 years old, reinventing myself on YouTube. So there you go. That's what we do.
Amazing. So you've been a lifelong psychic, and you say that you're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, empathic, all of that. How did that blossom for you over time? Did how you receive information change? Did the type of information change? Like, how did that work and how did that feel for you?
Well, as a little kid, I didn't know anything. Somebody wants to talk to somebody, and they'd be in the store, and I'd say, "Hey, Aunt Gladys says hi. Aunt Gladys died 3 weeks ago. I don't know, but she's saying she wants to say hi," and that kind of stuff. So, I guess that was mediumship, but I just knew things. And I remember in kindergarten, this one kid, we were friends, and I said, "Don't do that," because he was making I think a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I said, "You're going to cut your tongue." And of course, he licked the knife, and it was a steak knife that he was using. He
Oh
sliced.
dear.
So it's like they thought I had something to do with it or something. How would I know? That kind of thing.
Oh my
So,
God.
but that's what I basically I was always out of step as a kid. So I just basically, like I said, I became introverted and just practiced piano. So that's where the music, and also, and as a composer, it's like I always tease, say you have to be a little bit of psychic to be a composer because you're writing music for somebody's heard it. So like all
Hmm.
the guided meditations I have on my channel, I write all those, and then I edit and do all the music for them. So they take about a month or so to do, not more. But it's using all my whatever I do all at one time. So I enjoy it, and I want to help people. So. And the
Awesome.
hypnotherapy stuff that I got certified in, I've never really practiced hypnotherapy, but I always like to know stuff. I like to learn stuff. But what I learned from that is everything I learned went into my guided meditations, that
Oh
kind of thing.
wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So
And then,
do you think maybe you received like psychic information to do the hypnotherapy course? Like, was that a nudging so you can add it into your meditations?
probably, I don't look at life like, why did this happen? I just like, fat, dumb, and happy. I just like, just go along the path and they just push me away. But it was a very interesting individual. Um, But I learned from that, and then there's another hypnotherapist I've learned with in here in Los Angeles named Glenn Rotman, who's incredible. And so I actually went to him for some sessions, because I procrastinate sometimes. So, but I think it's also an Aries thing because if I think about it too much, I just procrastinate. But if it's due tomorrow, okay, I'll do it. I don't have to think about it. I just do it, that kind of thing. But it's like Einstein said, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. So all of this like just blends into itself. Um, I just go with it. You learn not to question it and asking about all the clairs and everything. When you're a kid, you don't know what all that means. The eight clairs. I thought that was what you go when you go to the bakery and get eclairs. But there's eight clairs, and basically the word clairvoyant is just the word clair is in French is means clear. That's all.
Yeah.
So voyance is vision, clairvoyance is clear vision, clairaudient, clear hearing. So you just know these things, and like there were times where things would just pop out of my mouth. I remember as a kid, and people just like look at me. Where's the holy water? That kind of stuff.
When you finally stepped out to do this professionally, did you have to like mentally or spiritually have to reconcile anything? I know sometimes with people that had like a very religious background or a lot of religious people in their life, sometimes it could be difficult stepping out and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing and I'm doing it professionally because of some stigma that's attached to it. Did you have anything that you needed to reconcile when you were stepping out professionally?
Well, in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. Now, Jean Dixon was my mentor. Jean Dixon was also a very staunch Catholic.
Okay.
And when she was raised, she said that she would know stuff as a kid. They didn't know what to do with her. So they took her to the Jesuit priests. And she said it was the Jesuits that taught her everything she learned about astrology and being a psychic.
Oh, wow.
Because the Jesuits are like the mystics of the Catholic Church, just like the Kabbalah is the mystics of of Judaism. So she said the best books in the planet about astrology are in the Vatican, and not everyone's going to see them. She did.
Oh, wow.
So the whole thing of being raised Catholic, I've learned a lot of different things now that I do what I do. I look at things a little bit differently. Like being raised Catholic is everybody pray to God. Pray to God for everything. Pray to God. I do believe in God, but also somebody who said something once that resonated so deeply with me that you realize no one prays to God. We all pray to Santa Claus. Can I have this? Can I have that? I'll be good. I promise. I'll make a deal with you. That's Santa Claus. So that's when you start realizing that it's not necessarily praying for what you want. It's realizing that you pray and say thank you for what you have out of gratitude. And you just say thank you. And the universe then lines up what you need, not what you want. Sometimes they're the same, but in most cases, you have to realize that the big lesson that I try and teach everyone is we're finite. The universe is infinite. Like the guy I said he asked me, am I going to get a new car? And I said to get a newer car. But sometimes you don't want to give everybody details because they'll mess everything up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I gave him details and I just said it's going to be German, newer, and probably green. Like in the 90s when everyone was driving a green car. And he called 2 months later and said, I got the car. It's a Jetta. It's a Volkswagen. It's green. I love it. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, fine. Okay. About a month and a half later, he called me. Why did you make me buy that car? I
Oh
didn't
my
make you do anything. I can't make anybody do anything. Can I make you sit down and write me a check for $5,000? No. So how can I make you buy a car? He says, but you knew. I said, yeah, that's why I said, just let it come to you. It'll be a newer car. His cousin called and said, hey, my wife and I are having a baby. Do you want to take over the payments on the BMW? So
Yep.
his thought process was all he deserved was a BMW, was Volkswagen, when the universe wants to bring him a BMW.
Yeah.
So that's where you why I try and instill in people is when we manifest, we don't manifest for the future. It's already here. It's the law of the universe and like stuff Neville Goddard has taught us and stuff. And it's already here, but you say thank you, not for just and make it a laundry list. The universe knows what brought you. But
Yeah.
thank you for what's in front of us as well. That we don't know what's here. But when we manifest and put stuff out there, it's always this or better.
I love it.
And the better is always blows people's mind because I didn't even think I could deserve this. And that's where it's like you put it out there or let the universe bring it to you because we don't know how those, it's like planting a garden. You put the seeds in. We don't see how the roots are growing, but one day they just sprout.
Yes. Yep.
You know? So and it's fascinating to learn how we're all connected. And also the mediumship. I tell people I'm medium rare because, I was kind of you just get a little hesitant with it. I was, but after I've been doing YouTube, it's been picking up a lot more. I'm more in trusting it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks like, the guides. They don't tell you that I call my guides Manny, Mo, and Jack, and I know my guardian angels are alcoholics following my life. So, but it's that old idea of it's your inner voice if you listen. And sometimes there'll be a voice from outside yourself, but mostly it's your inner voice, but it's not yours, your voice. And like I equate it to like claircognizance, so just knowing stuff. It's like watching Jeopardy, you just know the answer. Well, there's 5 words on 5 words up. Vanna White's pulled 2 letters, and you go, "Oh, I got it already." You don't know why, but
Yeah.
you did. And clairaudient, it's not necessarily hearing words all the time. It's also sometimes a song will pop into your head, and you listen to the lyrics. It's like, oh, okay, that's the message,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. So and there's a book I recommend to everybody. It's an older book called Your Psychic by Pete Sanders. That the reason why I loved it so much is he was a scientist at MIT. And so he approached it very clinically, worked with psychics. And so it's a series of exercises. It's not like some storybook. And like PowerPoint, do these exercises, figure out your psychic senses. And because we all have them, just like everyone can play piano, but is everyone going to be Arthur Rubinstein or Vladimir Horowitz? No. But we can all play chopsticks.
Yep.
And so you can work it like a muscle. And that's what this book helps you is like, and also how to turn it on, how to turn it off, and how to practice. I always use that old joke. The guy goes to New York City for the very first time, goes up to the cab driver. Hey, buddy, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? You practice. So, but I mean, it's just by doing, and the thing is, for many, many years, having been a writer composer, I would not tell people I'm a psychic. I just say, oh, writer composer, you know, because then when you tell people you're psychic, it's like, prove it.
Yeah.
You tell me you talk to dead people, they walk away real fast. So, but no, it's just, what's that? Oh, yeah, when you start telling them stuff. But it's like, I was doing a radio show once, and this woman says, so what will I be thinking in 5 minutes?
Oh, Jesus.
Actually, the first thing she said, so you're a psychic. I'm like, no, I'm a veterinarian. That's why I'm doing the show. How can I help you? So she said, well, what will I be thinking in 5 minutes? And the engineer is looking at me horrified. The host is looking at me horrified. What is he going to say? I'm like, I can answer that. I know I'll be 100% accurate on this. I really will be. Really? What will I be thinking? Why did he hang up on me? Hmm. But I don't, when people try and when they find out and they try and push you, like, well, are you really psychic? No, I'm not. I just make it up. They really push you and tell me something that's really going to happen. You'll speak to somebody breathing tomorrow. Think about it.
Well, I like that about you because you do that on your show. I find you kind of find a humorous way to
Hmm.
deal with people like that are stubborn or slightly rude on your show that are trying to ask stupid questions to you, and you're like, well, you turn it to the humorous side and kind of give them that answer that they want or that they're expecting, but you still give them an answer, right? So that's really good.
Well, I always say there's not stupid questions, just stupid
Hmm.
people sometimes. But no, it's sometimes after do a show, I say, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. They're in their own little hell. They don't know, and they've watched too many TV shows, or they don't understand how it works." And like, especially with the YouTube psychic community, they'll start trying to compare us. Well, so and so said this, and so and so said that. Now you said this, and, da, 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 and it's like, yeah, and it's all life experience. It's all how we interpret it. So all we're looking at, you give a paints or whatever to Moreau, you give them to Monet, you give them to Erte, you give them Picasso, and you give them to the same set of paints and everything, to Da Vinci. You get a painting, all different types, but it's still a painting, all different
Yeah.
interpretations. Actually, the funniest one was I used to be very good friends with a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, and he got annoyed when he'd do interviews. And I said, "So I guess you're like a Picasso of plastic surgery." He said, "I hope not. I'd be sued. I know where the nose goes." But no humor. It a lot of times people are very uptight. So if you can get them to smile or get them to laugh a little bit, it brings the wall down, and you can go in there and read them a lot easier. And sometimes it's scared. And when I do readings with people, sometimes it's like they're afraid to give me information. Like, oh, like I'm a fake. Then what do you make an appointment for? You know, the best when I do personal readings, I find that the best compliment I ever get is, "Well, I already know that. Tell me something else." I'm like, I don't know you. I just met you.
Yeah. Love it.
You know, but but you do turn it on and off. I mean, I don't. If I'm going to the grocery store, I want to pick up stuff to put in my shopping cart, not pick up stuff from other people. You know, but people think you're psychic all the time. It's like, no, not really. Well, why didn't you pick up 9/11? Because they didn't want us to.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Do you find that you get blocked sometimes like that when there's main events happening around the world that you can't pick up? Like, do you find
There are
that you
certain
do get
things that
blocked on
they
things?
don't show you.
Yeah.
Sometimes because again, sometimes if people know too much information, they'll mess things up. And I found it in my own life. Like they'll do things and not tell me why, but when I find out, I realize. Like my guides, again, I call them Manny, Mo, and Jack. They one day I was running late for an appointment. I go to grab my car keys by the door and they're not there. I'm like, okay, guys, where are they? And so I'm going through my apartment going, hotter, colder, hotter. And finally I found my car keys in the bathroom in the medicine cabinet.
Oh,
Now I
wow.
know if I were drunk or something like that, I still wouldn't have put them in the medicine cabinet. So I'm like, don't do that again. So I'm running to the appointment, and about 4 blocks away, there's a pileup.
Oh, wow.
Now, if I had been in the car when I thought I was supposed to have that appointment, I probably would have been in that pileup. So that's the little things that they do that we don't realize sometimes. Like we can't find something. There's a reason for it. That sometimes delay us or whatever. So you don't question it after a while. You just go with it.
No, I know what you mean. I've had that happen quite often in my life too. Just things cause you to delay or things cause you to,
Mhm.
I had the exact same thing with my keys when we first moved into our house in a town
Mhm.
close to here. We don't live there now, but our previous place, we just moved in. The next day I had to go to work. I had my keys on the middle of the freaking table or the counter in the kitchen, and I went back to get them. Gone. Nothing else on the counter. Just the keys.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they were there. So half an hour trying to find them, and I stopped for a second. I just said, "Okay, put my keys back, please. I need to go to work." Went back in there, and they were there,
Mm-hmm.
same spot. So yeah, I've had that stuff
Well, sometimes
happen
I
a
believe
lot.
many times the stuff is still there. They just changed the frequency so we don't see it. Like seeing ghosts and ETs and stuff like that. It's all frequencies.
I was going to
If
ask
you're
you
the right
that next.
frequency, you see them.
Have you had experiences in the paranormal as well then, or
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah.
Can you share some of your intriguing stories about that?
I think the most intriguing stories was when I used to do some seminars up in Mount Shasta, and the first time I was over there, I went on a path by myself and sat there and meditated over the beautiful views. And I went back to where we were staying, and a friend said, "Go look in the mirror." I'm like, what? And everybody's just looking at me. I'm like, what? I go look in the mirror. So I looked in the mirror, and my eyes were like like blue, like you know,
Oh, wow.
Paul Newman blue, except radiant, and or blue lagoon. And it was from all the energy that I picked up from the mountain.
Oh, wow.
And it stayed. I tried to get some pictures, but they didn't. It didn't really show anything. But it lasted for about 20 minutes. So that was just
Oh,
absorbing the energy from the place. And then I was driving some people around, and I had a van that I was using. I couldn't get the van to start. Nothing I could do, the van would not start. And I'm sitting there thinking, there's a poltergeist. And so the other person that was there, she's very spiritual and medium and all that. She said, "Yeah, there's a poltergeist here." And she yelled at it and it left. So then I could start the car. It was
oh my
just
God.
strange. And then another time I was walking on a path by myself and I met this woman, kind of odd looking, I'll just say that. Very pleasant. We're having a nice, pleasant conversation about the weather, about the mountain, about this, about whatever. And then halfway through, I'm thinking, I realize we're not talking. This is all mental telepathy stuff.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and shortly after I realized it, she kind of like disappeared. Like I was on the frequency anymore. I equate it to like when I'm not a Bible thumper, but I equate it to when Jesus walking across the water and Peter saw and Jesus said, come on, join me. Come on, come on, come on. And Peter just got out of the boat and started walking across the water, realized he's walking on water, then he sank. It's like he realized. So I realized I was not talking and she disappeared. So to me, that's like frequency.
Oh,
Also,
wow.
there were five of us and we're walking in a town called McLeod outside of Shasta. And I said, everybody, does anybody see what's above us? It was like this like triangular Dorito shaped thing, different colors. And it's like, that is what we think it is. I said, yeah, it is, isn't it? And so we all moved like a group to the right. It moved to the right. We moved to the left. It moved to the left.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was kind of funny. But then nothing, I wasn't picking up anything negative or anything. Just like, then I just felt, okay, we got to go now. So we left. And as we're walking away, it was like we all walked, it felt like we were walking through like this gossamer veil or something. Because it all of a sudden became like 5 degrees cooler than when we were under the whatever it was, the flying Dorito. And then in the next day in the newspaper, there was all these in the Shasta newspaper, all these articles about the Shasta lights that everybody saw this thing the night before and everything like that. So it wasn't just us.
Oh, my goodness. Well, now that you know, now that you've experienced
Hmm.
like the phenomena at Mount Shasta or the vibration of Mount Shasta, are you able to maybe connect in with that energy even when you're away from it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's all frequencies. Yeah.
Okay. So if you wanted to meditate with that energy of Mount Shasta, you'd be able to kind of
Well, it's not only just
weak a little bit.
it's not going back to the energies of Mount Shasta, it's just going back to that energy. Once I understood it. It's kind of like it's like once you know how to play like Beethoven's Pathetique, you play it. Once you know how to hone into something, you hone into it. Like with mediumship, people do. I for a while there, the other reason why I never said it was a medium is because they wouldn't talk to Uncle Larry and Uncle Harry would come through, or stuff like that, and so they get very particular. It's like, I'm sorry, it's not like a road. It's like more like a party line. Who's ever going to come through is going to come through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it has been getting easier for me to do, and sometimes it'll sound really crazy what I'm hearing, and I'll just say, I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but, and I'll say something that's off the wall, and yeah, that's them. That's exactly what they would say.
Oh, wow.
Well, like I had this one woman, her parents had passed and her brother, and they're like, what do you see? They keep that. I said, yeah, I do. They love you, they care about you, but they don't want to see you anytime soon. You have a lot of living to do. And she, that's exactly what my father would say. Those exact words. Or once time I was talking about training wheels and the girl started crying because that's my dad, stuff like that. So you trust in it more. But you just do it. I'm having a good time doing this. I mean, I like helping people. So I'm an Aries. When I'm helping people, I feel loved. So that's my trait.
Do you find that there's a lot of do you find that astrology plays a big role in in people's experiences?
And you knew Gene Dixon was an astrologer, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's the person that helped me start all this. No, I no, astrology has a lot to do with a lot of things. Yeah. And again, you're talking about the planet moving planets. It's all vibrations. It's all frequencies. It's all everything. And what I've been telling everybody basically since April 8th of last year when we had that eclipse, all the light workers, highly sensitive people, psychics, empaths, everything, people have been getting tired and just want to like lay down. And I'm saying go for it unless you're driving. And or they're getting ringing in their ear. And basically, we're downloading information all the time now, preparing us for the next 3-4 years.
Oh, good.
So we're all connected. And there's also a wonderful book I recommend to people called Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss, which talks about basically what happens, where we go, when we go, that kind of thing, how we're all connected. So he was not a trained, he was a hypnotherapist, but not a trained, past life regression. And that kind of happened with the client. Took her back to her childhood, wrong childhood. And so then they worked on that. And the masters came through and said what was happening between each lifetime and stuff like that. So that's where I don't mean to be political, but I do tell people when it comes to MAGA people, send them love and light until they get it right. But also send them love and light because if they're in this lifetime, they're the upgrade. What were they before? Sorry.
Okay, so when it comes to I'm in the astrology now, I want to go into that meditation because you do guided meditations.
Yes.
And I think meditation changed my life. I know meditation has changed a lot of people's lives, just the way you're able to think. Can you talk a little bit about the meditations, your guided meditations? What can people expect from them? What the intentions are behind them, that sort of thing?
Well, basically, I think I'm like 16 at the moment, and they range in different topics, like uh, awaken intuition, which talks about the pineal gland and opening up that third eye. Think of it like a lotus flower. I think if I were to redo it, it'd be like thinking like a satellite dish. When the satellite dish opens, you pick up information. When it's closed, there's nothing there. But how I approach it is you just get there's like themes, like fresh start or open your release your creativity or um, awaken intuition. No, the other one's about like success and abundance while sleeping, gratitude, happy, healthy you, deep healing. So there's a whole slew of them. And what you do is I get the person to relax. Now, some people say, "Oh, I fall asleep." It's like, well, you do, but you don't. But that's okay. Or people say, "I can't listen to these because my brain keeps on going all over the place. I can't." But that's fine. But your subconscious is still hearing stuff. And so I put you in that place, talk about what you want to experience in life. So excuse me, and then I have affirmations. Now, also what I do with the guided meditations is I also put a frequency of 528 under all of them. 520 is that one frequency that's very healing. It's very opens your heart. It helps you for gratitude and also for manifestation. It's one of those catch-all frequencies. So I put that underneath all of the guided meditations. So, and to be honest with you, when I write the guided meditations, I feel sometimes I don't write them. They write themselves. Like almost automatic writing in some ways. Now, I will be honest, for some of them, I did have a writing partner, and I would say what I'm looking for. He'd write, I'd write, we both go back and forth, and then I would just, I'm an Aries, it's going to be my way. And so we did, someone once asked me, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? I said, I'm an Aries. I'm always happy when I'm right. Come on.
Okay.
But no, in seriousness, it's the guided meditations are in a place to put you in that right state of mind. To And then I tell people to loop it at night so that you don't really have to hear it, but your subconscious hears it and picks it up. The one that was most meaningful to me was I had some clients whose relatives passed away through sickness, one was suicide, and other things. And so it seemed like there was a whole cluster that said, could you help us with something for grief? And so that was very important to me. So I approached it as the Japanese ceremony at the end of August where they write names on lanterns and put them over the water and say goodbye. Not only saying goodbye, but see you later, that kind of thing. So that's how I approached that guided meditation. But also, most of them have like that soundscapes, the airy fairy, twilighty music, not really music. But when I was looking at this and I was writing it, I kept on seeing it like a small short film in my head. So I actually scored it. And,
Oh,
and when when I the guy that helps me mix my music and stuff, when I brought it to the engineer, when I brought it to him, he said, "Are you working for Disney? I mean, there's a choir and harps in this thing." I said, "Well, it's what it's for." And then he said, "It doesn't sound right." And I said, "Because you're mixing it wrong. You don't have it lined up with the words." So as soon as the words and music lined up perfectly, it all made sense because that's how I wrote it. So and then what I did was in December, I decided I released them on iTunes,
okay.
Amazon, um, all the media MP3 channel platforms. Because when you're going to YouTube, you have to go to a video. The first thing I say is gently close your eyes. So what's that? The video is not like, yeah, the video is not like, butterflies and pastoral scenes. It's basically a lava lamp on crack. It's kind of like, uh, um, abstract. But also when I put them up on the other platforms, I remastered them and remixed them and made them more pristine for just headphones, instead of being on a computer or something. And so that way the person can download it, put it in there, and loop it at night, put it really low, they don't have to hear it. Or during the day when they just want to put it up, it's there for them. So that was my big project in December, just putting up there. And now, since they take the guided meditations do take a long time to write, edit, do the voiceovers. I'm not complaining. It just takes time. And so I'm now doing a new playlist called Timeless Tools for Fast Results. And they're only like 6 minutes long.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
just finished one about put salt in your shoes, that little trick. Or there's the whole one about Tesla and his manifestation technique of 369. And I'm working on one hopefully go next week about why we sage. Sage your place because it raises the vibration of the room. So, do you want to be in a Jerry Springer show episode or the Metropolitan Opera? It's up to you. But I no longer really sage with smudge sticks anymore.
Okay.
I have lung issues, but also smoke detector issues. And years ago, when I was working as a reporter, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. We did not have computers at home. You go into the newsroom 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, file a story. And the energy was really funky. And I just took a sage stick out of my backpack and started running around the place like the village idiot. And the detectors went off. Not the sprinkler, but just the alarm. So, of course, the guards come running in and the guy looks at me and goes, "Can I buy a dime bag of what you're smoking?" So I figured I got to do something else with this. So there's now a liquid form. There's liquid sage sprays, and it works even better for me because sometimes if I light a candle, I'm afraid that my smoke detectors in this apartment are going to go off. So, and then at night, since I work from home, I'll dampen the cloth, wipe down my desk, wipe down my computer, wipe down my phone. So it dissipates the energy. And then I'll put some in my wash water when I change my bed sheets, put over the mattress, that kind of thing. So it's just cleaning things, the energy wise,
Yeah, no,
and the smell dissipates really fast.
yeah.
So
It's a great
bring it to work.
alternative to smoking up your whole house or whatever, and then just spray
Hmm.
it instead of burning it, and
Yeah,
there's less
exactly.
risk of setting anything off, like the alarms or catching something on fire if you don't put it out right. Just like
Exactly. It's like
it's a great
that wasn't
alternative. We
Oriana
actually
Road.
carry that here on Haunting Live. We do have our own shop here, and we
Oh,
carry
okay.
paranormal supplies, so smudging and stuff like that. So we do have oils as well, so sprays. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I used to work out of a bodega for a while on Sunset, and they sold a lot of stuff and like the oils and stuff like that. And it's knowing, especially with oils, what chakras to use. Like with like hot and like here for when you're talking to people, you want them to hear you, where to actually put the oils. But that's great. I'll have to look that up.
yeah. It's just on our official site, hauntinglivepodcast.com, and then just click our shop at the top, and you can see everything that
Hmm.
we
I'll check
carry
that. I
there.
promise.
So yeah. Well, thank you so much,
And
Arthur. Yeah,
I just gabbed. I'm
I
sorry. I hope.
know. Time goes fast when you're just gabbing. So, but I appreciate all your intuition and your experiences that you're sharing with us here today. They're great. So I really appreciate taking your time today. So thank you.
Well, I usually don't get a chance to talk about myself, so I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what our show is about because everybody does this, right? Everybody does mediumship or psychic work or tarot or whatever your craft is that you do, but you do it in your own way, and that's what our show is bringing out your journey and your experiences. So, yeah,
We're all snowflakes. We're all individuals.
exactly.
We do it our own way. I mean, I haven't asked when am I going to write the book. I said I need people to die first. So it's a pleasure meeting both of you. I mean that sincerely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arthur.
No, thank you. And how can people get a hold of you if they do want a personal reading or if they want to check out your shows that you do on YouTube?
If I'm not carrying a sandwich board on Wilshire and Beverly that says we'll read for food. No, it's my website is www.arthureaseyourmind.com and everything's there. Also, I am on YouTube um, at Arthur Ease Your Mind on YouTube. And if you want a reading or stuff like that, I'll give an hour reading or a half hour reading through Zoom or your phone. And that's all the information's on my website. So it's pretty simple. But
Great, thank you. I really appreciate it.
thank
It's
you.
a pleasure meeting you too as well. So, Miss one of our episodes? Replay our episode on Rhode Island Broadcasting. Show your support for Haunting Live by supporting our broadcast partner, Rhode Island Broadcasting. Find them on YouTube. For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, HauntingLivePodcast.com.